Welcome to my atelier. In this lesson, I'm going to be showing you how to baste, top stitch, and pick stitch the shoulder seams, adding a bit of ease to allow for movement. This is the last step in actually constructing the frame of our beautiful swing coat before adding our collar and our sleeves. You won't want to miss this lesson. That's what's happening today in the atelier. All right, so let's get started. I talked a little bit a couple videos ago about our shoulder line, okay? And when we bring the shoulder together, all right, what we're doing is we're bringing ease into the situation because the back shoulder was patterned to be 1.5 centimeters longer than the front, okay? So that we can add the ease and allow for some movement when we're wearing our coat, all right? All right, so what we have to do here is kind of map things out a little bit. You can see here where I've basted and so forth that this, let's just straighten this out a little bit here. This is my shoulder line right here, okay? If I mark it, I have my basting thread, but I can mark it in white like so, okay? Now what we have to do is we have to sew this 1 centimeter down because this is a raw edge right here, okay? So we have to bring this down and we're going to sew this 1 centimeter down here like so, all right? Just like that, just like that. So when we're bringing together these two pieces, okay, we're going to match, obviously, the arm side and the neckline. And so you can see if I just do that real rough, real rudimentary here, you can see here's the ease I have. And so you're probably saying, oh God, Marlene, how are you going to ever get that ease in line? Don't worry, it's not hard. It's not hard at all. To make my life a little easier though, on the wrong side of the cloth here where I'm going to be working, I'm going to actually make my line in blue so I can see it real clearly. Because as we have said, it doesn't show up. The white doesn't show up very well, okay? All right, so here is my 1 centimeter down right here, this blue line. Now, what's also really important, this is super important, is you have to make sure that you're matching the neckline, okay, on the back. So here I'm putting a pin in, all right? Here's my neckline on the back. And I'm matching it to my neckline on the front here. You see? This is where my neckline is on the front right here, 1 centimeter down. This is really important, okay? And you can see here's 1 centimeter down on my arm side. It's so important to match the neckline and the arm side, okay? Because if you don't, all right, it can throw the balance in your neckline off, okay? Just to say it as simply as I possibly can. So here I'm matching these 2 points right here, okay? And now I'm going to match my arm side as well, 1 centimeter down. Just going to pin that, all right? So I'm pinning the arm side 1 centimeter down. Okay, so there's that. All right, now what we're going to do, we have to also make sure that we've got a ruler under here because we don't want to baste, top stitch, and pick stitch this to our inlay, okay? Or excuse me, to our canvas, all right? Now here, what I'm going to do on the arm side, from the arm side over, I'm actually going to baste this flat a couple centimeters over. And here, I'm going to keep 1 centimeter over from the neckline flat, okay? So I'm restricting where I'm putting my ease, all right? I'm restricting where I'm putting my ease, okay? So now that we kind of have all that situated, let's we'll baste, top stitch, and pick stitch our shoulder line, and I'll show you how to work the ease out of it as well, okay? All right. Hopefully all this is making complete sense. All right. So here, I'm just going to pull this up a little bit so that you have a better view of what I'm doing, I hope. Okay. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. It's very important too to make sure that everything is laying nicely. Okay, nice and flat so that you can work a lot easier. And this is one of those rare occasions where I actually work with the raw edge towards me, because obviously it'd be much easier than trying to battle this entire coat, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start all the way over here at the edge into the inlay. This doesn't really matter because eventually a lot of this will get trimmed away, all right? This is going to get, a lot of this inlay will get trimmed away when we're done. Okay, so we're just going to have this flat. And I'm going to keep my stitches pretty small and pretty close together as I baste, okay? So when I say small, of course I have to always get caught on the flippin' needle, right? If there's a needle, my thread gets caught on it. Just how it goes. You little son of a gun. All right, there we go. And we can get rid of him now, actually. So he's not a nuisance anymore, all right? So what I'm doing is I'm keeping my stitches relatively small, about 1 centimeter, okay? And I've got about 1/2 centimeter in between, okay? Now I'm going to have one more stitch here. And also what I'm doing is I'm making sure that the raw edge here is matching the mark stitches right here for the front shoulder line, because remember we left all this inlay here, okay? So one more stitch. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing this ease in, okay? And it's as simple. Now, before I go any further, the other thing that I want to premise this by saying is it's important how this ease is distributed, right? Because if you think about where your shoulder blade is, that's where a lot of the movement in your back is coming from and why we need this ease, okay? So your shoulder blade is actually not in the center of your back, right? It's really a little bit closer to your neckline than it is your actual arm side here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up this ease gradually, putting more about 2/3 of the way in and then gradually bring it down again, okay? So here, I'm just going to put a little bit here. And just, again, I'm just going to build it up gradually here. It's a little bit at a time. Okay. This one I'm going to put just a little bit more, ease here. You see? And it's as easy as just sliding your finger and pushing the cloth. That's all we're doing. You see? Just a little bit more here. Right? So we're gradually building this up. I have a tiny little knot here somewhere. Where are you? Silly little thing. There we go. Okay. Just a tiny bit more here. So in this area now, where I am, I should have this stitch, I should have the most ease right here. Okay? So that's the stitch with the most ease. And now I'm going to gradually bring it back down again. All right? Until it's to this pin, it'll be completely flat. All right? So I hope that makes sense. So it's like, It's like building, 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 and then coming back down. All right? Building, 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 bring it back down. All right, so not too tough. Now, if you're doing this for the first time, what I would suggest, strongly suggest, is that you do both shoulders. You bring both shoulders to this stage so that you can ensure that you've distributed the ease the same on both sides. That's really super important. And when you start on, this is the left side, okay? Is that right? Yeah. When you start on the left side, you're actually going to be starting from the neckline, okay? So you have to build that up, the ease up a lot faster, okay? And then you've got a longer way to bring it down, all right? So this is one of those instances where if you don't get it right, you can always try again, right? You can always take it out and do it again until you do get it right. So I always say, if you have the opportunity to do something again and do it better in tailoring, then for Pete's sakes, do it. For Pete's sakes, just get it done. Because that's what honing your craft is all about, right? That's what honing your craft is all about. All right, so here, I'm just taking this, just want to check and make sure my line kind of faded here. And I want to make sure that my 1 centimeter is in the right place. Yeah, okay. It's also really important to make sure that your shoulder line is really straight, okay? You don't want your shoulder line to be curved at all. And I just want to check mine because I feel like somewhere here I got a little off. Yeah, I sure did. How did I do that? Let's see. Or is it just because? No, I'm actually a little off here, guys. Let's do that again. Let me fix this. Because this has to be absolutely perfect. We do not want this to be curved. That was a little curved. Let me also check and make sure that my line is really straight. Okay? Let's just take a look. Because if it's not, then that's a problem. Yeah, this is off a bit. Let's get this fixed. It's real important to make sure this is real straight, okay? Now I know that line's a little thick, but I'd rather have it a little thick and be able to see what the heck I'm doing and have it straight, okay? So let's just rock this out again. So here we'll match 1 centimeter down and match the arm side. Yeah. And here we'll match 1 centimeter down and match the neckline. There we go. All right. Oh, for Pete's sakes. There we go. All right. So, well, that's all right. You get to see me do this again. All right. So here, I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to baste this here flat in the inlay. There's nothing happening here that's important. Baste that flat. Get the needle out of the way. And we'll go another 1 or 2 stitches here, real small and flat, okay? Just one more. Again, this time I'm going to be extra diligent on making sure my stitches are super straight and everything's lined up nice. Okay, so here again, we'll start building up our ease. Okay, a little bit more in this stitch. So this is one of those exercises, if you will, in tailoring that just takes a little bit of practice and patience, okay? Because you're like, well, how do you know that you're putting enough cloth, that you're building it up? It's practice. It's just practice and doing it again and again and visually feeling it out, I guess, if you will. That's, yeah, just knowing that each little push of cloth, you give it a little bit more and build it up. So it just takes some practice. That's all. That's all. Like anything in tailoring, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So this one built up the most right here. Oh, one more, actually. Let's build that up. One more stitch right there. That's better. And then here we'll go a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. Okay? Do it again. There. A little less here. Until finally we're just flat. Oh, that looks so much better. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Okay, we'll tack that off. Now, what I always like to do is I like to check and make sure that my neckline and my arm side are matching. That's really important, okay? So here, if I just very carefully open this up and we look, okay, you can see here my neckline is coming around and matching. The back is matching the front perfectly, okay? And the arm side is matching perfectly. So that's really important, okay? So always check that. Now, before we move on to top stitching, what we have to do is we have to shrink out this ease, okay? We can't leave it like that and top stitch and everything, okay? So of course, whenever we put ease in, we have to take it out. And how do we do that is with a little bit of water and steam from our iron, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm distributing water on the seam and just a little bit beyond it, okay? I don't want to be down here. I'm just shrinking it maybe a centimeter or so beyond my seam, okay? And I'm going to just take a little bit at a time, because if we just be like, okay, what's going to happen is we're going to get folds in this, in the excess seam, and you don't want that, all right? So just take a little bit at a time and shrink out a small amount at a time. I actually need a little bit more water. That's certainly not enough. There we go, that's better. Okay. Okay, so just a tiny bit at a time. Make sure it's dry. Then we come back, just come a little bit forward and just let that dry, okay? And you'll see the ease just magically disappear. It's tailoring magic. It's still there, right? It'll always be there. It'll never go away. but we're just shrinking it, if you will, shrinking it out. Beautiful. Just needs to be dried off a little bit more here. Okay. And of course, we're working on the back, so we don't have to worry about using a press cloth. All right. Okay. Well, that looks lovely. Okay, that's nice and dry. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this over. This massive amount of coat over, okay? And we're going to lay this out very nicely here, like so. All right, just like that. Now I have folded the inlay here, okay, is folding back. This is important. You don't want the inlay to flip forward, all right? You want the inlay to fold back, okay, very nicely, so that the back overlaps the front. That's what you're looking for, okay? All right, let's lay this out nice. We've taken so much time to work on this coat. We hate to just schlep it around and have it get all wrinkly and messy, right? Just a crime. It's a crime. So we'll just lay it out nicely here. Okay? All right. So the best thing, the easiest way to handle this now, because there's a lot going on, is once you have that folded back, we're going to slip our ruler in here once again. I just want to very carefully trim off some of this lining that's all bulked up here. It's just going to get in my way. Just these little zha-zhas. Okay, so here I'm going to put my ruler in between so that it's just hitting the cloth, okay, and not the canvas or anything else, all right? And then I'm going to top stitch this now, just like anything else we do, right? We baste it, we top stitch it, we pick stitch it, okay? So here I'm just opening up my seam and I'm basting this back a couple millimeters off of the seam, okay, or the fold. Just opening the seam up, all right? And again, I'm keeping my stitches pretty small and pretty close together. But what's also important is, remember, you can see here, there's this ease that we pressed, right? What we don't want to do is we don't want to push this ease one way or another like anything else. We want to let that ease be exactly where we put it, okay? So make sure you're smoothing this out and the ease is where it belongs. It's not getting pushed to one side or another. That is really important. Okay? Really super important. And it's just a matter of just smooth it out with your hand. Yeah, if you just push it back with your hand like this, it'll tell you where it belongs. It'll tell you. The cloth will speak to you. It'll tell you, hey, this is where I am. Okay? Bum, bum, bum. Just like that. Actually, I can pick this little bit up right here and just baste it all the way to the edge, okay? Because we have to sew this here. This inlay here at the neckline, we will not be trimming this back. This inlay is really important because it helps support our collar, okay? And in fact, I'm so excited about our next lesson because we're going to get into collars and I'm going to show you the beauty of the collar. I'm not going to say anything more than that. I'm going to keep you in suspense, okay? Now, like anything, we have to take the first baste out, but instead of turning this all over, I can access that first baste right here. I can see the stitches. So I'm just going to get them out this way so that I don't have to rearrange this coat all over again. Okay? Just get these out here. Much easier to do that. There we go. All right. Now, what's nice is I can see my seam is nice and straight. That makes me very happy. Okay? And we want to be very diligent when we're pick stitching this now, all right, that we keep the seam straight and we keep the ease where it belongs, all right? Let's see, that's not going to be enough. Where's my little needle? Here it is. It's got some red thread on it from the other day. All right. So I'm using my hand silk, okay? And I had a little extra piece that will work perfect for this, but I can't remember if I pressed it, so I'm just gonna, I think I did. So I'm just gonna give it a little press. All right. Now, hopefully, my God, after pick stitching the back center seam, pick stitching the side seams, okay, and the darts, at this point, I hope those of you who have been very loyal in watching this master series that you now know what a pick stitch is, yes? And if you don't, I am putting in this corner right here my hand stitch series, yes? So my hand stitch series covers all of the stitches that I use to make a coat, all of them. I think there's something like 8, okay? And the pick stitch is one of them. So you can learn all of these stitches, okay? The pick stitch, and I'll walk you through it here. Let me put this back so you can see a little bit better. Where my thread has come out here, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and bring my needle right next to that thread, okay? And then I'm going to come forward a couple millimeters, okay, maybe 2 or 3 millimeters, tops, all right? And I'm going to make sure that my stitch is lying just off the fold where this is folded, okay? Because I don't want there to be a big gap, you know, where I can run my finger under my seam line, all right? And that's the pick stitch, okay? So here, I'm bringing my needle in to the cloth. I'm coming forward just a couple millimeters, okay? Staying right on the edge of my fold or my seam. And that's it. That's the pick stitch. It's super little. It's very difficult to see. You shouldn't see a stitch at all. What you should see is just a slight impression, okay? Just a very slight impression, almost like a dimple, if you could see a little dimple. Okay, that's all you see. If you see your stitch, you've done it wrong. It's the hard, cold truth of the matter. All right, so here, just to work a little bit more efficiently, I'm going to hold this in my hand because I have a better feel for what's going on under the cloth when I can do this, okay? And so what I'm doing is I'm guiding my needle underneath with my index finger and my thumb, okay? To make sure that it's going the length of the stitch that I want, okay? And very close to the edge. Also making sure that I'm not pushing my ease around, okay? My ease is going to be sitting right where I want it, okay? It's real important. Real important. The shoulder line is a little bit trickier to work with in terms of pick stitching because you really don't have much chance to put your hand down on anything here. And if you do, you run the risk of pulling your ease around. So it's a little more I don't know what the right word is, just a little more difficult to manage. And of course, we want to make sure that we're maintaining a nice straight shoulder line as we work here, okay? So when I'm holding this in my hand, all I have is cloth. You can see the canvas here, yeah? So I'm only sewing the cloth, nothing else. All right, so we'll pick stitch this real quick and finish this beautiful shoulder line up so it looks beautiful, nicely finished. And you know what? I think I'll do the other side too. Yeah, would you like that? So you can see them both. I think that's important, you know, so you can see how both sides are done, how to approach the other side since we're coming at it opposite of what we did here. Be the same thing when we go to put the sleeve in. You know, we set our sleeves by hand, and or I do, and I'll be teaching you how to do that. But we approach the right and the left side differently when we go to do that. We start the, I believe it's the left side we start from the front and the right side from the back. If you're right-handed, if you're left-handed, it would be the opposite. So I'll show you how to do both sleeves. I know it's time consuming, but it's good. I want you to have as much information as possible on how to execute these techniques, right? Because we could play it fast and loose and I could be like, yeah. Here's how you do it. Bang, bang, bang. Off I go. But then you're not learning. You're not really seeing it. And so I would rather take my time and do a longer video or a longer lesson, if you will, so that you have the opportunity to see the technique executed in its fullest extent. Yeah. And, you know, if you don't want to watch it, you can fast forward it or turn me off. That's your prerogative, right? You'd be like, I've had enough of Marlene today. I'm out. I'm out of the atelier today. I'm closing the door. See you later. But I think it's good too, because then, you know, when you see something and how it should be executed and how long it takes, and like I said, the technique involved, then if you go to attempt to do this, you can say, okay, well, what do I need to focus on? What do I need to learn? Or what do I need to practice? Have you seen it all? It's not just a little glimpse. Okay? All right, so here we are. I'm almost, well, about halfway here, pick stitching away. Just very diligently. The shoulder line can be tough because it's really easy to get a little jiggly, get a little zha-zha. And I have to be honest with you, I do not want to have to try and take this out. It's not, no. It would be so difficult to try and take this pick stitch out with this cloth. So for me, I've got to get it right the first time because this cloth is it's a much looser weave. And if I'm getting in there, first of all, if I turn this over, I can't see my stitches, okay? They're too embedded into the cloth. That's number one. Number two, if I tried to get these stitches out from the seam line, I absolutely would run the risk of fraying or picking up a piece of cloth and tearing that instead of the stitch. So in this particular situation, my feeling is, for me, I've got one shot to get this correct and to stop as I work and look at my results, because if there is a little zha-zha here somewhere, okay, I can stop and take it out a little bit easier now than when it's all done. But thankfully, this is looking pretty good. These are all the little things that you have to think about when you choose a cloth. And honestly, I don't always think about it. I'm just like, ooh, that's pretty. And then I'm working on it. I'm like, oh, damn it. This is a pain in my keister. So that's the creative, right? The creative part. You don't always think through. You just have stars in your eyes over the cloth. Yeah. But it is. It's one of my favorite things in the world, cloth. I love it. And I love having a lot of it. Yeah. So lots of cloth in my atelier here. Lots of future projects. What's up? My little girl Pebbles is here. Come here. You want to come say hi? Come here. Come on, it's okay. Oh, she's got, hold on, the plug. Come here. Come here. You want to come up here and say hi? Come here. Come here. Oh, it's okay. Come here. Say hello. Can you say hello? Okay. Come on, good girl. She likes to be in my room, but then she wants to go out. So give me 1 second. Go on now. Go ahead. Oh, Pebbles. That's Pebbles. She's, Pebbles is my girl. Oh, yeah. She's my girl. She's my little furry daughter. Best little dog in the world, I'm telling you. She's so sweet. Her little eyes will just steal your heart. So she loves to lay up in here with me. Before we come up to film, I'm like, do you want to come help mommy film? And she tears up the stairs and lies down. Pebbles. Anyway, so we have cloth. So I have lots of cloth. I love cloth, all kinds. Fashion cloth, English cloth, heavy wool, light wool. I have so many projects in there that I haven't started yet. And I have a couple in there that I have to finish. It's just not enough hours in the day. No. On top of everything else I do, right? All right, so here I'm into the inlay now, so we can finish this up nicely. All right, and let's get the other side done. And then we can take a look at this beautiful swing coat that lacks nothing more than a collar and a couple of sleeves. Oh, gosh. It's been a journey. Okay, so we have that. So that side's done. So what do? We're going to take out the stitch, right? The baste, top stitch here. Beautiful. And we're going to give this a nice press. I think I'll just use this. Really easy. Yeah. I think I'll just use this very quickly here. Slide this on. It's going to be the easiest way to go about doing it. All right. Okay. All right, that's good. Just like that, yeah? Okay. And because we're working on the outside, of course, we need a press cloth, right? Okay. So see, you can still see the ease here, right? Yeah. You won't see it so much when you're wearing it, but Okay, so we're just going to put a little bit of water on that. Okay. And give that a nice press. And then we'll do the other side. And hopefully all will be well. I love it. Mm. Yes, that looks great. Okay. Yeah, that looks wonderful. Okay, so here you can see now we've got that beautiful, nice, straight shoulder line, everything matching. You know, the arm size matching, the necklines matching. Looks beautiful. Looks really nice. Okay, all right, so enough of our admiring our work. Let's get this side done over here, okay? All right. So just like we did, we have to turn the whole thing over, okay? And I guess I really didn't show you how I arranged this. So what I did is I took the front of my coat here, okay? And I laid this down flat. And then I brought, just move this over slightly for a moment. I brought the coat this way, all right? And make sure that you're matching the right shoulders as well, right? When you bring the back shoulder line over, make sure. What happened here? My mark stitches are easier to see on the other side. Okay. So here, my mark stitches are very difficult to see. So I'm going to go ahead and bring those in like so. Okay. Here's my neckline right here. Obviously, there's my there. Let me just double check and make sure that that's correct. Yes. Yeah. Boy, those are hard to see. Woof. There and there. Yeah. Okay. I'm tempted to just put a little blue, but I think that's going to be, excuse me, one second. I have, doing a lot of moving around the atelier today, aren't I? I really want to be able to see this, and my chalk isn't sharp enough, so this sharpened up a bit. Here we go. This is important, so we have a nice straight line. Yeah? Oh, that's better. And I definitely don't want to put blue here because it will show through. All right? Okay, so here, there, that's fine. All right. And now let's get a nice blue line on here so we can see it very clearly. I have another blue line here for some reason. I don't know why. I think that's when I was patterning it, chalking it. Yeah, nice and straight. All right, that's much better. Okay. So again, let's see, make sure I'm centered so you guys can see what I'm doing. Let's get this coat lined nicely. There we go. All right, so again, what we want to do is take a pin and I'm going to match 1 centimeter down on my neckline, okay, precisely. It's really important. we get that spot on. Okay, spot on, like so. And then here, 1 centimeter down from the arm side, here, pin that, okay? Now, remember what we did was from the neckline over, right? We kept this flat, just double check that, yeah. We kept this flat for about 1 centimeter, about that much, okay? And then we kept this flat about 2 centimeters out from the arm side. So we have to, we're working in the opposite direction now as we did on the other, okay? So we have to start building, when we go to build this ease, right? We have to bring in a lot of ease up front and then graduate it down, okay? So here again, because I'm working in the inlay, this is flat right here. We're not going to worry about that, okay? I'm just going to tack that. Again, we're going to keep our stitches relatively small, about 1 centimeter or so, and close together, okay? Get that pin out of there. Let's just double check and make sure our neckline is secure. Yes, okay. We're matching our shoulder line. So here, this is going to be flat. And here you see now, I have to bring up a little bit of ease, but it's going to be building much faster right here, you see? So this stitch is going to come up a little bit faster than on the other side. This side is, for me, this is always a more difficult side to work on. Everything wants to just move around. You know, I'm trying to keep my shoulder line straight, and it can be uncooperative, okay? So here, this is going to be my biggest stitch, or my biggest ease right here, okay? My biggest part of ease right there. And then from here, I'm going to work my way down slowly, okay? Here. And again, just keep everything nice and straight. Nice and straight along that shoulder line. Just off a little bit right here. I want to fix it. I can see my mark stitch. Should be right on it. Okay. There we go. And then finally, the smallest amount here, and then this is going to be flat the rest of the way. Okay? So you can see we've got quite a bit here, and it builds up from here, okay, like so, and then it gradually builds down, all right, to here. And now this is all flat, pretty much. Be a teensy amount of ease, but pretty flat, okay? And then this carries over right to the end of the inlay, like so. Make sure that stays where it belongs. And just tack this right here. Okay? So that's that. All right. Very good. So now we have all that, and now we press. So not too hard, not too tough. Yeah. Just have to make sure that it's the same on both sides, right? And like I said, it takes a little bit of time, just a little bit of practice, if you will, you know. So do it a few times. I mean, this is one of those things you can take it out and do it as many times as you want. There's some things in tailoring that you can't do. You can't do that, right? Cutting the cloth. You got one shot. And if you mess it up, hopefully, I always said there's stuff you can recover from, you know, and then there's like catastrophic mistakes where you just have to hang your head and cry for a little while. Some things just you can't come back from. But this is one of those things that you can. So practice is key. I know it. I make it look easy. Oh, it's not that bad. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So we're going to turn this around now, and we're going to top stitch and pick stitch this, and then our shoulders will be all done. Okay? Shoulders will be all done. Here. Like so. That. And again, I'm folding back my inlay and laying this down nice and flat. Okay? So let's get our ruler under here. Okay? And we'll top stitch this down real nice. Okay? Okay. So now here at the neckline, this is flat, right? And again, when you start running into that ease, just give it a gentle little pushback. The other thing I have to say is on this jacket, okay, I believe it's on my right side. One of my shoulders is longer than the other, and I think it's my left side that's longer than the other. So this ease was a little easier, right, because my shoulder was longer. And I think there was a little bit more ease here because my shoulder is shorter on my drop side. Yeah. So those are things when you're dealing with a fitted garment that, you know, it's asymmetrical. It's not a symmetrical garment. You can see here, if you look, the yoke on my right side is much shorter than on my right because my shoulder drops. Yeah. So it might look kind of funny when you point it out, but it makes sense. Yeah. Which is why when we get into talking about the collar, something like this makes a big difference, right? When we're putting a collar on, you've got to know if you've got one shoulder that sits lower than the other, how to handle that in so many ways, right? In so many ways. So we're going to talk a little bit about that when we go to put the collar in. I used to make my collar asymmetrical, but that turned out for me to be a little bit more of a pain in the butt than it was worth. So now I just make my collar big enough for both sides because we cut it anyway, right? We're going to cut and shape the collar anyway. We're going to get to all that. You're going to have, believe me, you're going to get a lesson on collars. You're going to know more about an under collar and a top collar than you bargained for. Seriously. Be like, oh God. But it's good. It's good to understand. The thing about tailoring that is really amazing that a lot of people don't know or don't understand until you've just done it long enough is that there are all these relationships that take place in the jacket, okay? Jacket, trousers, whatever. But mostly in the jacket. There is a relationship, okay, between the top collar and the lapel, all right? Because they both have break lines and they both have to work in harmony with one another, okay? They have to. It's really super important. Because if they don't, your lapel won't sit right, okay? Your lapel will not sit right. So it's just, tailoring is so fascinating to me because I used to be an accountant many, many, many years ago. I was a CPA. And so I have a very analytical mind. I want to know why things work, and I like math. And a lot of tailoring is geometry, how things fit together, how they work together, you know, especially when you're drafting patterns, it's all geometry. It's making sure you've got, you know, lines that are beautiful 90-degree lines. Okay. And they're squared out perfectly. So there's all these relationships. There's the relationship between the armscye and the sleeve. Okay. There's an absolute, in fact, the way I was taught to pattern, okay, we actually take the measurements from the armscye and we use those to tailor, or excuse me, draft the sleeve. And it is just really super cool to see. You can see how there's a direct relationship between the armhole and the sleeve. So if you know how to pattern your sleeve properly, it should always fit. It should always fit beautifully. Okay? Beautifully. All right, I'm going to get in here with my hand. So these are things that we're going to talk about a little bit here as we get into working with the collar and the sleeve. To me, the most intriguing parts of the coat, like I love all the tailoring in the front, don't get me wrong, but the collar and the sleeves are the most, oops, you know what I didn't do, guys? Because I'm babbling away like a fool. I forgot to take out my first baste. Goodness gracious. That would have been a tragedy. Yeah. God help me. Here we go. Let's get that out. Hopefully I didn't get it caught too much in my pick stitches. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a tiny bit here and there. We'll get them out. So yeah, there's all these beautiful relationships. But the collar and the sleeve are by far the two, in my opinion, most challenging aspects of making a coat. And which is why I love tailoring so much, because I love the challenge. And every time, you know, I'm just going to mess with that later. Every time I make a new coat or jacket, whichever you prefer to call it, I always learn something new, and I always figure out how to do it better. Hopefully you do it better than you did the last time. Always improving. That's why it's important to make a lot of jackets, make a lot of trousers, make a lot of waistcoats. You know, don't make just one. Do it again and again and again. because that's when you start realizing all of those relationships start coming together. And at some point, we're going to talk about fitting. We'll talk fitting. I'll introduce you to some of those fitting concepts so that when you're making garments, you can be aware of them, or maybe even decide to go about fixing them, learn how to fix them. So we'll talk about that. There's just so much. There's so much that I want to share with you, without a doubt. There's just so much to share. And we're going to get there. Unless God strikes me down tomorrow. Then we won't finish our swing coat. That would suck. That would really suck. Can you imagine? We get to the best part and boom, I drop. Just God's like, nope, she's done. Oh, I don't know. I have a weird sense of humor, guys. I'm sorry. Ironic, sarcastic, I guess. Anyway. All right. So I'm just going to pick stitch the rest of this beautiful shoulder seam here. Yeah. And it's looking very nice. It's coming out beautiful, nice and straight like we want it. Yeah. Nice and straight. But I want to show this to you. I want to be able to put this on our fun little mannequin and hang it up and have it sitting there looking so beautiful. And then, like I said, we're going to jump into the collar. You're like, Marlene, what is it about the collar? Okay, let me tell you what it is about the collar, okay, that I love so much. There is never a better, I guess, how can I say it? Illustration, okay, of taking literally a flat piece or a couple flat pieces of cloth, okay, and shaping them with your hands and some thread and the iron and some water and making it into this beautiful little undercollar. And it's a beautiful thing. And the very first time I learned how to do it, I literally shed a tear. I did. It was just so satisfying. So, like, I had no idea. I had no idea that was tailoring. I had no idea that you could do those things. You know what I mean? I mean, if I wasn't hooked on everything I had learned before that, that was it. I was done. I was like, I have to do this every day. And so I want to share that with you. I want to show you how to take this pattern, for a collar, an undercollar, and how to cut the linen and the melton, how to pad stitch it and shape it, stretch it, shrink it, and turn it into a beautiful, beautiful collar like this. Yeah. It's very cool. So I do get excited. And then when I think about the dynamics of the collar and how it works with the lapel and all those things, it's just even more exciting. So we're going to talk about that. I might even have to take down my inspiration board and go over it with you on the board. We might have to go old school with this. So, you know what I'm saying? We're going to go like full blown old school lesson on the board about collars. You're going to be like, what is she talking about? This crazy woman. Oh, that's it. And wait till you set your first sleeve like that. Oh, it's just awesome. When you do that, that's another time I cried. I could not. Tell you a really quick story. When I was first getting into this business, okay, I actually started out designing suits for women, all right? I wasn't tailoring yet. I knew how to sew, but I didn't know how to tailor. And I was working with this really awesome tailor in Chicago. I was living in Chicago at the time. And he was from the Ukraine. And he was like a fourth or fifth generation tailor, okay? And he was a little bit older than me. Great guy, still a good friend to this day. All right. And when I saw his sleeves, I was just like, God, how do you do that? You know? And they were just so perfect, such a beautiful, perfect line. The ease was, But this gentleman had absolutely no interest in teaching me. He wanted to tailor. I can't say I blame him. So when I set my first sleeve, okay, by hand, and I saw what it took to do it, all right, the amount of work that it takes to do that and get it the way it is, I had a full-on new appreciation for his talent. And this was years later after I'd moved. I moved here, and well, no, I hadn't actually. I was in Chicago, but I called him and I said, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate your talent. So it's it's pretty crazy. But yeah, he was not going to teach me. I used to tell him I want to be a tailor. He had a Russian accent, right? Or Ukrainian accent. And he said, "You're too old and you're too stupid." And here I am, old and stupid, doing tailoring. Oh, God. An old, stupid tailor. That's what I am. He has since eaten those words, and very nicely, too. We share our work with each other quite a bit. And he's a good friend. And although his words were not encouraging at all, they did motivate me to learn how to tailor, for sure. I was like, damn him, I'm going to learn just to spite his Ukrainian ass. Okay. All right. We are finished with this shoulder. Let's press it out, okay? And let's press it out beautifully here. And then we're going to get our lovely little mannequin, and we're going to put our coat on our lovely little mannequin and admire ourselves a little bit. Yes, I think it's absolutely okay to admire ourselves. Just stay modest, okay? Don't get too cocky. All right. It's going to look lovely. Oh, yes. Very nice. Very beautiful. All right. Let's get this little mannequin over here. 1 second. Yeah, I'm out of screen again. Getting used to this, huh? See if I can do it without tripping over the iron and causing a complete and utter chaos in the atelier. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze back there. All right. First of all, let's get all these pins out of her. Yeah, poor thing. Right? My God. If only I had a waistline like that, yeah? Ah, the hell with it. All right, let's get this guy hung up and see how we're looking here. Yeah? Beautiful, hopefully. All right. Yes. Very nice. Okay. That is looking beautiful. All right. So of course, it's off a little bit here because our shoulder she doesn't have a drop shoulder like me. Okay. But there we have our beautiful shoulders are done. We've got our lovely lapel. Yes. So that's all come together very nicely. I'm very happy with that. And so, like I said, our next step is going to be the collar. That's going to be a blast. I can't wait to show it to you. Thank you for joining me in the atelier today. If you've enjoyed this lesson, please do like, share, and subscribe. I do appreciate it. And in my next lesson, I'm so excited because we're moving into one of my favorite parts of the jacket, which is the undercollar. So I'm going to show you how to cut, pad stitch, and shape our beautiful little undercollar for the swing coat. You won't want to miss it. That's what's happening next time in the atelier.